Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui, na sibagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
All right, I'm your politics anchor, Ali Badawy, and it's Friday, 20th of May, and we are coming to you once again live from Kilimanjaro studios outside of Washington, D.C. Please remember to subscribe to our OneMic Show YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at OneMic Show. On panel with me tonight is Mr. Micah Makawa. We have our resident DJ OmoshFaya, and Micah will be joining us via Zoom. We also have a guest whom we'll be introducing shortly, and our super producer is none other than Mubelo Bandio. And without much further ado, we are going to get started right away because we have a lot to cover tonight. Now, we know that running for local political offices in the U.S. has not been a top priority for Kenyans living in this country. Now, unlike our West African counterparts and even our Somali counterparts, we have tended to take comfort at the fact that things just work, like the schools work, the roads work, everything just works. But on a different note tonight, however, we have in studio with us Mr. MWAURA, who is running for office in Baltimore, Maryland. Now, Thomas is an activist and a community organizer who has served his community for a long time and is now seeking to represent them. Now, Mr. MWAURA is seeking to unseat a 19-year incumbent, Catherine Clausmeyer, to represent District 8 in Maryland State Senate. Karibu sana, Bwana MWAURA. Okay, all right. And thank you so much for coming through today. This is a very interesting time. A lot of us got surprised to find out that you're running for Senate. Election is going on in Kenya. So when you see Senate elections, you're thinking Kenya. And I was like, Allah, Mr. MWAURA is running for elections in Kenya. Then when I looked closely, I was like, actually, it's not elections in Kenya. It's elections out here. So to get started, just reintroduce yourself briefly for maybe those who are seeing you for the first time and tell us what inspired you to run for this Maryland Senate seat. Mr. MWAURA, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So my name is Thomas MWAURA, as you say. And you're wondering what inspired me to run. First of all, I'm a resident of this place.
Okay. And bring the mic closer to you a bit.
I'm a resident of this place.
Okay.
I pay taxes here. And in everything, the politics of this place affect me directly.
Okay.
And if they affect me directly, there is no reason why I shouldn't be a participant of it. If whatever is decided in Annapolis is going to affect me, why not sit in the table as well and represent my people?
Okay, and by Annapolis, you mean the capital of Maryland?
Yes, the capital.
Where the Maryland legislature is domiciled?
Yes.
Okay, all right, good, continue.
Yes, and therefore, people have wondered what we're running. Here's the deal. We come to this country and we stay in the shadows, all right? Some of us come into this place, maybe they didn't have papers or stuff like that. They stay in the shadows. And even after they get their papers right, after they become citizens, they still stay in the shadows. We need to get out of that and walk in the middle of the road, walk tall, because again, we pay our taxes here, we work very hard, our children are growing right here. So I don't understand why you should stay in the sidelines when decisions are made for you.
Okay, now before, I bring in, the rest of the panelists here, what is it that you think that keeps people in the shadows? Even people who are not necessarily paperless, people who have their citizenship, people who have their lives working well for them here. Why do you think they still like maintaining a low profile? What is it that's missing?
Number one, it appears like a humongous task. The other thing is that we haven't really owned the fact that we belong. If you own the fact that you belong and you believe surely that you belong in that place, then you will not have it difficult, or it's not going to surprise you to think that you're going to run in the office. Why should you limit yourself to what you can do in this country?
Okay, all right, that's quite interesting. And we're talking about a lot of first generation immigrants and people who maybe have recently gotten their papers. So I think it's interesting to see, or rather it's nice to see people taking that bold step to do this. I think it was last year or the year before, we had another Kenyan in Minnesota, Boniface Njenga, who also tried to run for this seat, but it didn't quite work out. But I think it's good to see that people are now getting bold enough to want to get started. Now, the seat that you're going to be running for, Maryland Senate seat, District 8, and that's within Baltimore County.
Yes.
For people who are not familiar with what District 8 is, give us names in Baltimore that people are familiar with, so that if there's someone listening from that part of town, will be like, oh my goodness, that's my district. So what parts of Baltimore is District 8?
Right. So if you're listening right now and you live in Parkville, you live in Nottingham, you live in Rosedale, you live in Kearney, you live in Whitemarsh, you are in my voting district, and I'm asking you to vote for me July 19th.
Okay. And these are areas where a lot of Kenyans live.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Including OneMic.
All right.
There you go.
Yes, and as I'm trying to bring in the other panelists, I see Steve Batty is already on. He says Sambaza podcast is here. Karibu sana, Stephen Batty. Omosh,
Yes, sir.
Talk to Mr. MWAURA. I'm sure you have a few questions for him. With yourself, not necessarily being in his district, but not being too far from his district.
Hey, boss, I'm far, but then
Far is relative.
yeah, it is relative. So I'll ask. Thanks for coming on the show anyway. Thanks for making time out of your busy schedule. I know this is campaign time. What is it that you think you'll be able to do differently from the incumbent?
First of all, I know I'll be able to represent my people differently, because for one, I don't believe some of these people in these offices kind of don't see us. And I'll give you a good example. For example, when they had the clashes back home, right?
Okay.
Those days, the TV station came to my place, of course, because we called them. And the issue was, you mean there are many Kenyans here? Meaning we're invisible, right?
Okay.
The reason why we're invisible is because we're not participating in anything. And I'm not telling people to run necessarily. If you can run for something. That's a great thing. But at the same time, engage in the politics of this place. Be known, be seen, be heard.
Okay. So, just to piggyback onto that, or to ask another, because it's a leading question from that, is that you said, my people. So by my people, I'm assuming you mean diasporans, Africans, Kenyans, or does my people mean people of District 8?
People of color, for one. People who have been marginalized for a very long time.
Okay.
Because that's who I am. You start with where you are. You start
Correct.
with what is biting you.
Okay.
As you expand out. So when I say my people, I mean people of color, people who have been disadvantaged over the years.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that I'm not going to represent across the board. Remember,
Correct.
America is made of immigrants anyway.
Correct.
So immigrants' rights are American rights. So basically, that's where we are starting from. And when you're representing people who need a service, right? And it so happens that some of us are so behind in the services we need. So I'm going to bring politics that are community-based, local to the village, local to the block.
Okay.
And that is something I haven't seen. And I think that's what I'll bring. If you asked me before I started running, who was your senator, I had no idea. I can't blame her. But at the same time, I think you need a senator who comes out. If a senator comes to your blog, comes to your library, comes stuff like that, you won't miss them.
This senator is a 19-year incumbent.
Yeah.
From 2003. So there's something clearly she knows about District 8 to make her stay there for 19 years. So what is it that gave you the confidence, or made you feel like we have a chance of defeating her after she's been there for 19 years and probably knows every stone across District 8?
I don't know if she knows every stone. Maybe she does. Being in a place longer doesn't mean you know every stone. But anyway, I'll give that to her. At the same time, what I want to say is that the demographics of my district since the time she ran for office have changed quite a bit. Things have evolved quite a bit. And what happens is that if you sit in a seat for a very long time, you become an institutional politician. You become just another politician, because now it becomes a job more than anything else. And it is also important, by the way, when it comes to term limitations, like let's say the governor's office limitation, is because people recognize that you need new ideas. Surely after 20 years, you need new ideas. You understand? And I think that is lacking. I want to bring in a fresh of new ideas, new representation from somebody who has a background that is very different.
Okay, great. So you mentioned the background. So what is your background? How is your background going to help with District 8 in this case?
I know what it means to land here, come here as an immigrant.
Okay.
I know everybody came here at one point or the other. Some people came earlier, I came later. So
Okay.
we're all immigrants. But things are such that once you land in this particular place, the way you navigate the system, the way you rise to become where I am right now, is a story nobody else can tell but me.
Okay.
You know, therefore, even though I respect every other person who came here 20 years ago, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But they can't tell my story.
Correct. Okay. So in because this Senate seat is going to be sitting out of Annapolis,
Yes,
correct?
yes,
So I'm assuming that they have different committees
yes.
that they have for, I guess, different policy related matters.
Yes.
What committee do you see yourself trying to get into, and what would you try to accomplish in your first 100 days?
First, I would like to get in very seriously into immigration. All right? I don't know what committee that could be, but I would
Okay.
like to be part of immigration
Okay.
to make sure that any country that doesn't have borders is not a country. That I understand. And I'm not saying that we have a floodgate. That's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying, there should be fair treatment of immigrants. You know, for example, when the former president took office, he took office by insulting everybody who is an immigrant, right?
Correct.
So I want to be in a situation where I'm saying, no, slow down. You know, these people are fair. For example, children who came here as a result, or children who are here as a result of their parents coming, you know, we need to be sensitive about this.
The dreamers.
The dreamers, basically.
So the DACA
That
recipients.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
That
because
kind of-
right now there's actually a loophole where, or should I say, there's a gap where they are being, you go through the process, you're done with school, and then now you have no status.
Exactly.
You're not protected anymore like you were, and you have fallen out of status because you're no longer going to school. So it's like you have to just continue going to school, and as long as you're going to school, you're okay. But
Yes.
the minute you get done, you're finished. But then you're removed by what, maybe 15, 20 years, and your parents can't protect you
They can't.
because even if they have status, you already are no longer what is it called, a dependent. So they can't file for you, and there's a lot of kids who are actually being or DACA recipients. I guess they were the earlier DACA recipients or prospective DACA recipients. There's that gap now where they're being sent back,
Yes.
and they have no way to start. So I see what you're saying from
Yes.
an immigration perspective. But Maryland at some point used to be considered what is it called? Is it a safe harbor or safe state?
They're called, I'm forgetting that name because even California, San Francisco,
Maryland used to be. I don't think they are anymore.
Sanctuary.
Sanctuary,
Right?
yes.
Yeah.
I don't think they are
Sanctuary
anymore because I think the voters voted that out. But they still, no one is enforcing.
No, I think Maryland might still be a
A
sanctuary,
sanctuary state?
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
I'll have to go back and check. Maybe I'm foggy in all of that. But being that Maryland is a sanctuary, even the governor he's been very, to me, I don't think he has been critical of immigrants.
Yeah, he has to be careful,
Yes.
because he's a Republican in a democratic state.
Yes, he has. Yeah, he hasn't. I haven't seen him do a lot of things or do things. But back to that, you're in the immigration committee, or you're trying to get into the immigration committee, and you have your first 100 days, and you're like, okay, so you run with immigration. What else is it that you're running with?
Now, before we get away from immigration, like what authority does the state legislature, like the state senate, have on immigration? Because from my understanding, immigration is a national issue.
It's actually a national issue, I do agree. But there are some things we can do within the state. For example, there used to be a time, and I know there are some counties, like Hartford County, I think, whereby you cannot differentiate the police force with ICE.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
As a state, we can actually do that. That's not mandated nationally.
Yes.
You
that's true.
should not be arrested by a traffic offense. Maybe you went through straight light, and I'm not telling you to go
Yeah.
red light, but
Yeah.
and then they call ICE on you. I mean,
Yeah.
there should be clear separation of the two, so that when these guys are driving around, you don't have to be, look at the back, your mirror, stuff like that. Or stay in the
And I
house.
think to make it clear, because people consider Maryland, like a democratic state and feel like these things don't happen. There's certain counties in Maryland
Yes.
where the police departments deputize, like ICE.
Yes.
Yes.
Meaning that they can make arrests on behalf of ICE.
Yes.
And I know one of those counties because it's a neighboring. I live in Montgomery County. I know Frederick County, is one of the counties that do that. And I believe there's a couple of other counties. I'm not sure which ones.
Harford County.
Harford County. Yeah, so those are counties where if
that's
you're
Japa.
driving,
Yes.
you could be pulled over, and
They will profile you.
the cops could deputize immigration, and they could actually ask for your paperwork. So I think it's important for people within Maryland to note that there are some counties that do that. Of course, in states like Texas, there are so many counties that do it. In the South, there's so many counties that do it. But even up north, there's places where
In
people
Virginia,
do that.
around
Yeah.
Manassas, they do it.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
So some of those things are very passionate to me. The other thing is that, and you mentioned it actually, there was a time whereby a child would come with their parents, of course, and
Yes.
come to Maryland or any other state, and the child goes to school.
Mhm.
Very smart kid, he gets A's all the way through high school.
Correct.
When it hits to going to college, now there's a problem.
Yes, because they are undocumented. They can't get in the system. They don't have a what is it called, a social security number, or even if they did have a social security number, or maybe you are using an alien registration number, it can't be recognized and or used to get into college. You don't have an actual social security card, so you're left out. You can't get into college, which then drops you out, and that's what DACA was supposed to help with. But then once you're done with your studies,
Yeah.
then you're in
limbo.
you're in limbo. You fall out.
Yeah.
I remember reading an article, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
where there's a bunch of kids, or should I say grown-ups now, who have gone through the system, were protected and now are no longer protected, and it's a dilemma for everybody. They're like, okay, so what do we do now? And DACA is it's a presidential directive. It's not a law.
It's not a law.
So that then this goes back to, I guess, what Ali was saying is since it's a national thing, can the local influence, or it would be based upon you guys pushing the Maryland senators, who are sitting at the Capitol?
You have to remember, all politics is local
Correct.
to begin with. It
Yeah.
begins locally.
Correct.
And if we mobilize locally, then even those who are national will
Yes.
hear us. They
Yeah.
recognize us. Very soon, Congressmen, actually, they're asking for votes right now. So if we are mobilizing, our issues will be just as important. Because again, for me to be a senator, it means I have a following, I have influence. I should be able to educate my district to the things that matter, so that when they are voting, they are not just voting, they're voting issues.
Okay, and I wanna, before we get Micah is joining us over Zoom, but before we get to Micah, a couple of comments here coming through on Facebook. Pablo says, the need for fresh ideas is what prompts the fresh breed of leaders to rise up. And Pablo further says, what methods are the gentleman using, or rather, what methods is the gentleman using to reach out for votes from new eligible voters? Mr. MWAURA.
That's a very good question. First of all, we have put signs all around. I'm sure there are people who are seeing my son around and they're like, oops, this guy has too many signs. I mean, I need to make sure that I'm in your face.
You're visible.
I'm very visible. That's number one. Number two, we're going to be passing out door hangers soon. All right. I have like 10,000 or so that I'm going to be passing out soon. And these things are expensive. That's why we're fundraising. We're going to be pushing this thing out. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to be knocking on doors. Right, we're gonna be knocking on doors, so don't cuss me out when I knock on your door. Oh, you don't live there? Okay, fine. It's
This guy, yeah. First of all, good luck if you find him in the house. Then second, good luck if he even responds. Third, good luck if he even votes. Fourth, if he even shows up. Yani, you have so many things going on. If these are the type of people who are supposed to vote for you,
I agree with you. I want to make a difference. I want to inspire these guys to come out that day and vote for me.
I think you might need to start with a brown envelope. Where, boss?
No comment. Carry on.
Continue. Okay, fine.
So How many potential voters are in your district?
I really can't tell you that, but I can tell you I've been trying to get in that database for some time. Whatever I need to be able to get the actual numbers.
Correct.
And whatever it is right now, of course, is outdated. It's a little difficult. What I can tell you is that I need at least 10,000 votes to be able to make this mark.
Okay.
What I'm concentrating on is not general numbers. I'm concentrating on what do I need to get to the finish line.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
You know, so and of course I can get 10,000 numbers if I'm able to reach out like that user just asked. If I'm able to reach out, and the way I'm going to reach out is talk to you, you talk to another person, the other person
Correct.
talks to another person. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, we're knocking on doors, we're using Facebook, social media. Very soon we'll be making phone calls, stuff like that. We're going to do whatever it takes, everything that is done, so that at the end of the day, July 19, whatever the outcome is, I know I have done my best.
Okay, and we have Micah on Zoom who has a quick question, and then we're going to go to Mike. He's actually resident of your district, so we're going to hear from a potential voter on if he's going to vote. But let's go to Micah first, who's reaching us via Zoom. Micah.
Hey, Ali. Good evening.
Yes, Micah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, loud and clear. We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ali. And I want to say hi to Mr. Moses here. And also want to say I wish you all the best in your campaigns.
Thank
But my question for me is we know your district is full of Kenyans and immigrants, but we have been seeing a lot of immigration from Maryland to other cheaper states. Maryland is quickly becoming one of the most expensive states to live in. And we know part of the Senate sure that the cost of living on a state remains in a functional level. As in, what are some of the plans that you would, or how would you be involved in ensuring that the high rise in taxes, the high rise on state fees, and also cost of business and cost of living goes down? Because as much as we say that it is a high immigrant state, it's come to a point whereby most of the people are leaving. It's just becoming unbearable and quite uncomfortable, quite expensive for people to live in. So any thoughts on, or what are some of the game plans that you have for that?
One thing is, if you're in the old trade, and I'm not saying that to demean anybody, if you're in the old trade, you know those jobs are going out quickly. And therefore, we may have to retrain in the new technology. Our young people, I've walked around District 8. It's an affluent state, and you will agree with me about that. But if you look at the way our younger people who have taken the challenge of taking technology line and stuff like that, they're doing pretty well, better than their parents, better than us, for example. We are being forced to move out. For example, I'm forced to move out because maybe what I do was a factory kind of job, and it's not paying as much as it used to pay because inflation has got up. But these people who are in technology, it's moving with that inflation. So those kids are able to stay. What I would want to do is, again, provide opportunities for people to retrain. You know, you cannot stop inflation, for example, or you cannot stop things getting high as they are. We can slow them down, though. That we can do. One thing I would like to do is to make sure that we have affordable housing, you know, and that is easier said than done, but it's been done elsewhere. So I know that in our place we can do affordable housing. The other thing people move is not necessarily because of cost. Sometimes people move because of good schools. You know, you just want to move because you want your kids to have a safe environment, a good school, and stuff like that. We can make sure that our schools are competitive. They are competitive in such a way that nobody will move out of my district to go to another district or to another state because of school or because of safety. You know, we can do common sense things that can make our state or the district itself very attractive to stay and to come to live in.
Okay. All right. I hope, you know, your question was answered, Mika. I think, Uno, you also had a question. This is a potential.
Several.
voter.
No,
Yeah.
no. I wanted to piggyback on to move back to what Pablo asked in terms of what you're doing to get potential voters or eligible voters. And you talked about you mentioned door hangers and flyers. A good ground game, from what we've learned, means traversing your political domain, your domain, meeting people. We know that we have a high very many churches and very many Kenyans. So what, apart from that, what else are you doing to meet the people, to campaign or to request for their vote? Because a good ground game requires you to be on the ground. So what have you done to exactly to effectively make your ground game like Barack Obama's? Okay, not necessarily Barack, but
All right.
I don't know if you guys are noticing, like now, for example, the potential Jubilee guy, what's his name, Gadake or no, Igathe.
Yeah.
He's over there riding on
Nairobi governor.
Mkokotenis.
Yeah.
He's riding on Mkokotenis.
He's having haircut if
He's
the boy
having
is bald.
cards, Kuleng Motura and
Yeah.
all that with the
Delivering-
Wananchi, with
he's
the nine.
delivering water in Mkokoteni.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're going to do that without the need from Mkokotenis here.
Are
but
you gonna be carrying
He's paying-
babies?
He's paying bus
Babies.
fare. He's paying bus fare for people in the morning.
Uh-huh.
I mean, is he gonna pay our tolls? When we're commuting.
So that's the requirement of a good ground game, as much as it might be perception, but
I don't want to be engaged in doing stuff that I'm not going to be able to do after the election. First of all, you have to be an authentic politician. You have to be you. And people can see through it. For example, if you're a billionaire and you're out there riding Mkokoteni, what exactly are you saying? You've never ridden it before. Obviously you're riding it now for a reason, and you probably won't ride it after. That's very transparent to people like me. They see the lie straight up. Now, when you ask what am I doing, it's what I'm doing and what I'm going to do. The idea of visiting churches, that's of course is a key. I have to do that because this is one place you go where people gather together. Getting people gathering together is not an easy thing. Walking to a place and bringing 100 people just to listen is not an easy thing. But a church is already grown for that. They're going there for salvation, obviously. But even politics of the land is part of that salvation, because if you're going to help people, obviously hungry people, stuff like that, it's part of what Christ came here to do. So you can't separate. So I'll be going to churches, basically. I'll be going to churches, this church here, that church here, stuff like that. That I will do. But I do not want to depend too much on churches, because that is also hypocritical. I go to church anyway, right? So I'll be going to various churches to meet other people. What I would like to meet, the people I would like to inspire, the people I would like to see voting for me are the young people.
Okay.
Right? So, and the young, I'm not attacking you, by the way, but I'm saying if...
out.
Yeah. He's not young. Just tell him.
Yeah,
He's no longer young. Just let him know.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah, it
So
is
first
what it
it's
is.
emotion, now senator. Okay, sorry.
So now, if I can get these people, below 35, in between all the way to 21,
Even you are not there.
I'm around there.
that is in the neighborhood.
Nowhere near, but it's
I'm in the
okay.
neighborhood.
Yeah. So what happens is that if we can inspire these guys to vote, that's the bloc that doesn't vote normally, And what happens is that when you don't vote, you're not represented, you're missing an action. And if I can energize those guys, because if you look in Kenya, for example, very many people, young people are running. Why can that happen here? It is happening here with people like Omar and OC, stuff like that. People like OC and Omar should actually be coming from our community as well. They haven't done that in the past. Maybe if I focus with them, if I talk to them, I show them the importance of being engaged, they will be participating in the next election, I assure you.
Okay.
But also they'll vote for me.
Okay, great. And you're talking about young people. We actually have some young members of your campaign team and who are out here in the studio, maybe not visible. I'd like one of you to come through so that you can tell us something about the campaign. I think you can go and share. You can go and share the mic, or would you rather he goes on that other side? Okay, all right. Let's give her some space. Mosh, it's time for the youth. Let's give the youth some space. I want you to get here, introduce yourself, and tell us one or two things about the campaign and what the young people are doing to support Mr. MWAURA.
Okay, so my name is Annette Karanja. The campaign is very exciting for a lot of my demographic. So when we say these young people, what we're talking about are the millennials, and also our Gen Z, because we do have people who are 18 and up who are eligible to vote, of course.
Okay.
So that's who we're talking about. But even those who are not able to vote, those who are under 18, we do have some engagement from young high schoolers who are participating in our volunteer efforts, which is super exciting because, one, they have the energy for it. They also understand the social media game very, very well, and they're posting about it, and it's being shared and reshared. And one thing that I think was probably super exciting for me to see is somebody who is 17 years old telling people to vote July 19th. July 19th is a very important date for us.
Tell us what's happening then.
July 19th is the primary. The primary means before you pick between a Republican, a Democrat, and an independent, you have to pick within those groups which person you want to represent. Right now, the primary is scheduled for July 19th in the state of Maryland. And we have, of course, the senator here, which I'm manifesting, I'm already calling him that, who is running against an incumbent on July 19th. This person has had the same people vote, and these individuals like to vote. They tend to be older. They tend to be, baby boomers who come to the primaries. But if we can get these young individuals to vote, to take the time out, it's a Tuesday, or you can do early voting. Early voting has different locations where you can go throughout the day, the week prior to July 19th, or you can do a mail-in ballot. If we can get our young individuals to do that, we're going to surprise a lot of people.
Okay, so July 19th, that's a date. Now, what about people who are not registered to vote? And here we're speaking from a Kenyan perspective. We know there's a very big gap from when registration is closed to the date of the election.
Right. So we have until the end of June for you to register to vote. I believe the date is June 29th. That's when you can register. There's also another deadline for you to get a mail-in ballot. So what many people do and they don't even realize is they go to the MVA, they get their driver's license, you click a bunch of buttons, or maybe back when you first did it, you verbally told somebody.
And maybe pay for tickets.
You might do that too. So when you go there, you select the party that you want to be affiliated with, right? And a lot of people do that without even realizing what that means. If you have done that, you have registered to vote, essentially, and you have picked your party. We're running through the Democratic Party because that's the party that we believe is going to help us with the goals that we have for the community, the ones that are important for the community. And what I would like to say is, if you are a young person and you are an independent because you are an independent thinker, that's great. That's me too. I also was registered as an independent because I wanted to do something different. However, being an independent means that you cannot vote in the primaries, which means somebody is being picked for you. I don't like people picking my food. I don't want somebody picking which gas station I go to. I really don't want somebody picking the laws that are going to affect my day-to-day life. So this is a good time for you to register as a Democrat, get out there in the primaries and pick people who are going to represent your needs, and pick people who are accessible, okay? So the senator has been doing food distribution since the pandemic hit every single Friday. You can literally see him. I haven't seen the incumbent.
You're talking about the 19-year incumbent.
The 19-year incumbent.
Now, and there was a question that actually came from our super producer. He was asking about it, and you kind of answered that question, and was why Democratic Party? Is it because you believe in the doctrines of the Democratic Party, or because he just wants to run as a Democrat for the state Senate? And I think you gave a very good answer in that for people who are registering, if you register as an independent or a Republican for that matter, you cannot participate in this primary.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And this is not a polarizing issue. If you identify with the Republican Party, if you identify with the Democratic Party, that's not an issue so much as understanding what the actual party issues are. In the district that we're in, we are primarily a Democratic district. Okay, there's some areas, we call it red when it's Republican, blue when it's Democratic. We have some purple areas. District 8, Parkville, Perry Hall, Kearney, all of these places, they are mostly Democratic. Okay, they vote in the Democratic primaries. So that's the real thing. Is a lot of people think about November. This race is going to be won in July, because we're going to, who we pick in July is who we're going to pick in November.
Who's going to win in November. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And the other thing I'm concerned about, let me first of all read a few quick comments here. Muzi of Jabali Africa says, I see MWAURA and team are rocking Azimio. I don't know what that means. I mean, I think the blue coincidence, but that's Muzi. You know, Kenyans, you know, like our minds are always in Kenya. And then, you know, like there's a question here about the strategies to reach the younger gens, and you've already talked about it. And then Pablo is asking, does Mr. MWAURA wear the Kenyan bracelet? Identity lazima, milango zitafunguliwa speedy sana. I actually have another question in relation to that, but before that, I see Sleodro says she's definitely a great campaign manager, very eloquent, and I think she's speaking about Annette here in the studio. So
who else would she be speaking about?
yeah, and I have to say, I mean, Omosh was seated here.
Oh, by the way. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
But
so you can't assume. So you can't
almost
make
being
assumptions.
eloquent.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. Now, I have a concern here, you know, and this is where, you know, like things are gonna get tough, you know, because I think it's our responsibility to bring out the tough questions to you so that when you go back on the ground, you can figure out what you need to do. District 8 is 51% white, whether we like it or not. I know you have a lot of focus on immigration, a lot of focus, you know, like on minority communities. How are you going to reach to the white population? Because to win, you might need some of their votes.
Let me first say something here. The fact that you're a white person does not mean you're not an immigrant. All right? If you immigrate from Russia or the other country that is being attacked by Russia,
Ukraine.
you're an immigrant.
That's right.
And you go through the same things that we go through, basically. You know, so being white doesn't mean you're not an immigrant and you're not going to be benefiting directly from the migration things I'm speaking about. And number two, the white population and the Caucasian population has evolved over time. The issues of long ago are not necessarily the issues that they necessarily carry dear today. I know those things linger. They do linger. But sometimes, for example, I'll give you an example. If you know very well, Obama wasn't necessarily elected by black people.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
He reached out to other communities.
He reached out to other communities.
Yeah.
And all you need to be able to reach out to those communities is a clear message. That's what you need.
Okay.
You need a clear message. And anybody who is listening to your message will listen to the other person's messages and will pick the message that resonates with them.
Okay. And then the other thing is, you know, like some Kenyans are talking, you know, like people in groups are talking about Baba MWAURA, you know, he's running. And some people are wondering, well, was this a surprise, you know, because they've been seeing posters of other candidates, you know, for a while. But you just came up fairly recently, you know, so some people are asking, where were you, you know, like last year? Because going for these primaries are very grueling, you know, like people have been on it for a while. So what made you, you know, like come in it in the last minute, or why didn't you start much earlier like a lot of other candidates?
Let me say, anybody who is surprised with me running probably doesn't know me and probably doesn't know what I've been doing for the community previously. You don't necessarily have to run in office immediately, right, for you to serve your community. You can serve in a community in various capacities. You know, timing is everything also. So I can say I have penetrated my community. I have helped my community And I've come to a point whereby I've realized that even my leadership at some point has some limitations, because now I want to represent them in a way that I can even go to some of those offices and express their issues. That's the idea. And I have real life experiences that actually made me decide this. For example, let me give you a good example. For example, we lost somebody here the other day, this year actually.
Okay.
Right. So, and the issue was this particular lady, elder lady, has to travel to Kenya to be buried. You know what I'm saying? And what we needed is a paper to be signed that she doesn't carry any communicable disease. Looks like a simple thing, right? We didn't get it. We didn't get it for like almost 20 days.
Oh,
Why?
wow.
The person at the hospice place where she passed away says it's not her responsibility, right? It's the responsibility of the place where she was living, the county she was living, which was Harford County. So I went to Harford County, right? Department of Health. They tell me, no. It's not our responsibility. It's the responsibility of where she passed on from. And it makes sense, right? It took us going to that office and camping out there for her to get signed. Taking somebody in the governor's office to make a phone call for that to happen. To me, that's a no-brainer. That shouldn't happen at all.
Kujuana.
Yes,
Wow, it happens in America too.
it does.
Wow.
It does. And the person who was frustrating us at that particular point, you know very well it's supposed to be signed by Baltimore County. She died in Baltimore County. The person who is frustrating you is a person who knows very well that there's probably nowhere else you can go. The moment they have spoken to you, they have decided there's nowhere else this guy is going to go.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So very interesting, like issues that are coming up here. And I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned in to the Politics Hour of the One Mic Show. We have Thomas MWAURA in studio, who's running for District 8 for the Maryland State Senate, and that's located within Baltimore County. Now, before we continue, real quick, Uno, please let us know what we're going to be talking about in the social segment.
Social segment. We'll pretty much be going back to Azimio. Sauti
This
Sol.
Azimio that Muzi was mentioning
That one,
here.
yeah.
Okay.
And intellectual property becomes the creatives and content and the laws and the companies, the Kobo, Prisk,
CMOs.
CMOs.
all that Mashakura.
Okay.
Yes.
That's going to be in the social
And hopefully
segment.
with Nonini.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Yeah, Nonini might be present. So yes, that's
Because
gonna be-
Muzi himself should have been here, but
but instead he's enjoying the show instead
he's
of being
enjoying the
here.
show, and
Yeah.
of course, you wouldn't want to say anything bad about Azimio.
And pushing for Azimio and even baptizing Baba MWAURA.
Yes. Do what?
Muzi iko Kirinyaga na mama.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. So as we come to a close on this interview, and here I want to come to you, campaign manager or Annette. Now, we can't stay away from national issues in local politics. National issues have gotten into local politics, whether we like it or not, and a lot of voters want to know, like what stand you have on certain national issues. We know recently there's been this debate on Roe versus Wade after the leak came from the Supreme Court on women's matters touching on women's health. Where is the Thomas MWAURA campaign on this, and how are you, using this situation to reach out to more voters?
Well, yes, this is something that is definitely on a lot of our minds. When it comes to women's health, we are fortunate that we live in the state of Maryland. The state of Maryland has legislation that has already been passed that is very supportive for women. We have functional programs such as the Maryland WIC, which supports women and children, pregnant women and children with food. We also have our health care, whereby as soon as a woman becomes pregnant, she is eligible for the state-funded insurance and many other programs that support women. So while we have this debate going on, people who live in the state of Maryland are fortunate enough because we have access. And it does also kind of vary depending on which county you're in. But in Baltimore County, there's a lot of access for women. There's a lot of support for women. And so there's no reason for us to move forward and then take steps back. And what I mean by that is, as long as the legislation currently is protecting and also providing support for women and children, then we're going to continue to support that and expand it where it is necessary. We cannot do anything about what happens in the Supreme Court. This is where voting is really matter because it trickles down. Somebody appointed the people who ended up there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? So this isn't something that is taking us by surprise. It wasn't all of a sudden. Honestly, the fact that we had a leak woke a lot of people up, but there has been a campaign for a very long period of time for something like this to happen. And while they were campaigning, some people were sleeping. Wake up. If you care about these issues, look at the people who are representing you on the local level, because those local politicians become governors, and then those governors become senators, and they also run for president.
And here's the thing, Annette. I hear a lot of times, like right here in the US and even back home in Kenya, that voting is not going to make a difference. And this comment is so pervasive, like people keep talking about it. And of course we see, the 2016 elections where Donald Trump won had major repercussions, and even this leak from the Supreme Court is part of a repercussion of the results of the 2016 election. And remember, Supreme Court, these are lifetime appointments. So some of these judges are going to be there for a very, very long time. And not only in the Supreme Court, but in lower courts where over 90% of the decisions are reached and that never make it to the Supreme Court. So how do you reach out to people who constantly keep saying that elections don't matter, we're still going to be exactly the same the day after election? How do you just take that conversation to a point where at least they would want to consider to vote?
Well, first and foremost, that was a literal campaign to discourage minority voters. Some of the phrases and the rhetoric that we use was given to us and we adopted it. We gotta unlearn some things, okay? Someone taught us that our vote doesn't matter. And the same person who's teaching us that our vote doesn't matter are the same people who are making sure their children are voting. Think about that. It is very on purpose. So if you're a person like myself who likes to have original thoughts, let's challenge some of these things that we have adopted, the things that even maybe our parents have said or they have felt, because there's a lot of untruth. They're alternative facts.
Alternative facts.
We got a lot of alternative facts out here. The truth of the matter is your vote does matter. It matters a lot. And there's going to come a day where you might have an issue like the one that the senator spoke about. And when you go to call somebody, they need to know that you actually participate. Why would I pick up a phone for a constituent who never votes? That person has told me that regardless of what I do, you're just going to fall in line. That person has told me that they don't care what decisions I make for them because they never voted. So why do I need to listen to you now that you got a problem? You're still going to do what I say regardless. I don't like that.
Oh.
Okay.
Are you planning to run for office one day too?
she doesn't like a lot of things. There's a lot of things she doesn't like.
Okay.
There's some things. What I really want is I just want people who look like me to vote. I want people who are my age to vote. I want my younger siblings to vote. And I want them to knock on these people's doors after the fact. There shouldn't be a point in time where you have a name that someone can't pronounce. Let our names be seen so regularly that you learn how to say it, okay? Because let me tell you, you learn how to say those Germans' names because you see it many times. Or you learn how to say Eastern European names or Russian names because you see it many times. We need to be the same way. They need to say all of those letters properly.
Kochuszewski, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right.
Now, Uno.
Yes.
Last week, we had a 16-year-old girl who was here in the studio. And
Right.
she was, like, it's kind of like Annette and Howard in the same room, because she was talking about, like, names. Let them, like, pronounce it. Like, you teach them once and tell them that's what it is. There's no short version of it. Like, you
There's no
say it as it
nickname.
is. Yeah. It's not a nickname. Just say it as it is. So I think we're coming on to something, like with this generation that was actually raised here in the US now coming of age. I think we're coming on to something because let's be honest, we were very scared. You know, like when you talk about knocking doors, you know, like I'm scared of knocking. Like I'm just going to knock at a random person's door. You know, like that's something that I'm
Especially in Baltimore.
I'm mentally scared of.
Nothing wrong with Baltimore.
Yeah.
Let's
Try
clarify.
that in Alabama.
Let's clarify what
Mississippi.
part of Baltimore we are talking about. Okay.
It's still Baltimore. Don't
It's-
they wear
it's
Tusker
Baltimore
t-shirts?
County.
They still wear Tusker t-shirts
Ain't nothing wrong with Tusker t-shirts.
and Timberland.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with
But
their shoes.
to me, I'd be more terrified. I'd be more terrified to go to, you know, like, for lack of a better way of saying, you know, like, maybe I knock on a door of a white supremacist. I don't know. You know, the Trump election, you know, got me to understand that some of these people who you think are just liberal, you know, like regular white people who identify with you, they're the same people who are voting for Trump. So
Yeah.
That-
I mean, last weekend showed us that in New York.
Oh yeah.
yes,
Well, let me say this. I have knocked on a lot of doors, canvassing. Actually, let me start over. You asked me to introduce myself, say something about myself earlier, and I did not. do
yeah,
that.
you skipped that
Okay,
conveniently.
I very conveniently
Yeah.
skipped that.
She
because
doesn't like
Save
that
the best
either.
for last.
She does not like that
I
either.
just needed everyone to know that I need you guys to vote on July 19th. That is what I was rushing. That's what I was thinking about. I also did not mention, but really need everybody to donate because these campaigns require finances for us to do this. We're not going to get to the 20-year-olds if we're not where the 20-year-olds are. And we need money to do that, whether it's for gas, whether it's for flyers, or whether it's for our social media ads, whether it's for paying somebody to do TikTok, because I ain't about that life. So if you do TikTok, please hit me up. My name is Annette Karanja. You can find me as classy_Annette on
Slow
Instagram.
down. Annette Karanja.
Yes.
Annette Karanja. Let me pronounce it in the Kenyan way. Annette Karanja, because there's some people here. I think Kizungu Mingi Mingi.
I think
You know,
Slade didn't understand.
Yeah.
Slade didn't understand.
Yeah,
Say
there's
it
some
again.
people here. It's Annette Karanja. So
Yeah.
so you know, like tell us first of all where people can go, people who want to contribute money, or you know, just people who want to know more about the campaign. What are the places where they can go? You know, like
Facebook, Instagram. And on Facebook and Instagram, that's where you are going to find all of the links. I know
Okay.
most people are on social media. I don't want to start saying.
So what page do they need to go to? Is it Thomas MWAURA?
Yes, Thomas Morris, Senate D8 for Instagram.
Okay.
I am the main person running that page, so I'm most familiar with that. Is the Facebook the same?
Same.
The Facebook page is the same.
And we're gonna post those links, you know, like in the comments.
Yes, and then the donation, the donate button is a very see. This is America, okay? We don't just under the
Cash
table.
up.
Like, no,
Eh?
no, we don't do that.
I'm
Okay,
a brown envelope.
none of those things, my friend.
No, those
And the
things don't work here?
It is highly regulated. So we've had some people in Baltimore City get in trouble within the politics there. Not gonna name names for not doing things the right way.
People who were sitting in office before.
And we don't want that for us. Okay, we're gonna do things right. And so we're using that link because that link is very important on how we do our tracking.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's one thing. One thing that's also really important is each individual can donate up to $6,000, right? So after your $6,000, they're gonna look and say, okay, this person is big balling with their $10,000 donation. We can't have that. Okay, you got to give $3,000. You have to give $4,000 back. These are some of the things.
So is
that-
it 6,000 for the primaries, or is it 3,000 for the primaries and 3,000 for
It is 6,000. Period.
To the campaign.
for both the primaries and the general
It's
election?
not different. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's not different funding. The campaign fund, it's one
Okay.
campaign account. It goes towards both. But like I said, we are going to win this thing July 19th. Okay.
Okay.
So we really need it now.
Okay.
What happens after July 19th? We will get support from the larger Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And that's going to be great. But right now, what we need is July 19th. So if you're not in our district, one thing that you can do is you can donate. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, share it to your friends so that they know, so that they also can help out and donate. He didn't mention this, but I have somebody. The senator's birthday is coming up.
You're already calling him a senator.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah,
All
she
right.
she said
I see what
she's
you're doing there.
verbalizing it, she's
I'm
naming it,
verbalizing
she's
it.
speaking it.
I'm speaking it, whatever language you like. I'm manifesting it. It's a prayer every time I say it. I truly believe that, and so it's going to come to pass. So the senator here has a birthday that's coming up,
Okay.
a pretty special one. Do you
All
want to
right.
tell him? Do you want to tell him how old you're turning?
Yeah, I'll be turning a 60
Oh wow. Okay.
Yes.
When is the birthday?
next week, Tuesday.
Next week. Okay.
Next week, Tuesday. Yeah.
24th.
Is there any like
Yeah, is
goat
there-
involved?
Yeah, is
You know,
there?
like, is there?
Yeah, is OneMic chingering something?
I think that's where she's going.
I just need one mic to come and dance. You know, I know you like to dance.
What?
Yeah.
That's what we need. We need you to come and dance, tear up the dance floor.
You really don't want this guy campaigning on the dance floor.
I'm just surrounded by haters, but it's okay. It is what it is.
Yeah, so his birthday is coming up. We're doing a celebration on Sunday, the Sunday of Memorial Weekend.
Okay.
Sunday of Memorial Weekend. We're having a celebration. We're having it at the Alimu Center, which, for those of you who don't know, he's also a small business owner and operator, and that's where he has supported the community for the community events. And so it's going to be at that location at Alimu. That information will be shared on the Facebook and social media as well. And what we're asking for, we would like to have our gifts go through that donation portal. We will provide a goat.
Okay.
That shall be there. Okay.
All
It'll be
right.
a fun time. It'll be a DJ. We're gonna have a great time. It's always a fun time. If you've been, it's always a fun time.
And then in Kenya, because a lot of us, like we are coming from the Kenyan context. When people attend these political events, they're usually given something small. Like in a brown envelope, something small. How does that work in America?
So in America, we give out plates. You will be
Okay.
fed. Okay. There will be no envelopes.
No
We will-
envelopes?
There will be no.
Annette, you didn't check with the Kenyan in you?
There will be no. We are Kenyan, and I love that about us. But we are doing an American thing here. We're taking
Yeah.
ownership.
And we
We're
have to be
taking
within the
ownership.
law.
We're taking space. That's what
Annette,
it is.
I have to check your bracelet again because clearly somebody didn't tell you that there was an envelope passing session happening.
Honestly, the first time I engaged politically, I was in high school. I was on the Board of Education. I was appointed by the governor at the time.
Wow.
And the stipend that they gave me was so small, I was confused. Okay, this government operates very differently. I have been learning this lesson since way back then. Okay, we don't do it like that over here.
Oh, so the word is stipend.
Stipend.
It's not brown envelope.
It's not brown envelope.
And it's not
Stipend.
per diem either.
No. Stipend. Get it right.
Okay.
Yes. So, but what we are doing is, listen, my college friends, if you need some internship hours, please come and volunteer with us. We're doing that for our canvassing, our phone banking. It's a great opportunity for you to be politically involved. I remember my first political campaign that I was a part of was in PG County, and I did get internship hours for that.
Oh,
it was a
wow.
fun time too. There's usually food involved. So just follow those pages. Hit me up directly. I'm easy to find. I'm always liking stuff. So we can get connected and get involved. And you don't have to be from the district to volunteer. Okay, so you can be from any district. Come volunteer with us. Learn how this process actually works and get those hours. If you're in high school, you need some community service learning hours. We're doing that as well. Just come get those hours, get your parents' permission, and we can do that too.
Okay. And I'm gonna tell the other campaign staffer who's not on camera, please put all those links in the comment sections of Facebook, in the comment section of the YouTube video, so that people can contribute. And I think people can contribute even across the country. You don't have to be from Maryland. People can contribute. Uno, we have some comments here that were coming thick and fast before we go to Baba MWAURA and wrap up this session.
So, Omosh, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to know who MWAURA is.
Who MWAURA is?
Yeah, because I just see Baba, I don't see MWAURA. Who is MWAURA?
Where to some? Let's read the comments first, and then we're gonna get back to that.
So
later.
this was in addition to what you mentioned when you talked about like WIC, but let's see, You don't even have to be documented. When Micah nasikia hii kizungu mingi kweli, I guess when you're speaking, people know, bro, I am anti-Nyita. Of course, Nyokabi is saying you're well-spoken, articulate. She should be a political analyst. I was wondering about the comment about MD. Glad you made the distinction. I'm not sure exactly regarding to what.
I think that was a comment regarding it might have been regarding, you know, like
The question you asked about
the
Supreme Court.
immigration.
No, it was about the Supreme Court decision on Roe versus Wade.
Okay, yeah.
So many comments. I was defending him. Oh, it's about me dancing.
Wow.
Of course, people are surprised that I can dance. So the question here is who can donate? Because I think at some point, and correct me if I'm wrong, I may not be sure. The people who I think you can donate, and you said it was across the board.
Across the country, but
I
think you have to be either, you know, like either a U.S. citizen or I don't know whether legal permanent resident is eligible. Maybe you guys
legal
can tell us.
Legal resident is the wording. So whatever that means to you, that is
legal resident in Maryland.
Yes, within the
No, in the United States.
in the
In
U.S.
the United States.
Oh, actually,
Okay.
yes, for donation within.
If
the
you're a
US.
legal resident.
And I like the way, you know, she put it, whatever it means to you.
Legal
Resident.
She's been hanging around those halls too much.
Someone you're coming for me, but I will tell you, I actually hid from those halls for a very long time.
See, you're calling. You're right there.
By force, you know.
So someone is asking, just curious about some district metrics. Do we know roughly how many voting eligible Kenyans live in District 8? You may have mentioned it, but you're trying to get the numbers.
So one thing I can specifically tell you is that currently the way that the U.S. Census, and that's where we get a lot of our information, the way that it's set up, we do it, it's done by race, but not necessarily by nationality.
Yeah.
And that's a distinction that a lot of times is hindered specifically for this purpose, so that we can't have that information.
So if you're black.
So, but what I can say about the demographics is echoing exactly what the senator said, which is we need 10,000 votes. And while that sounds like a lot, the predecessor, she's still
an incumbent.
Incumbent.
Yeah.
For a short time.
Yeah.
Yes. So the incumbent has won
right.
by 8,000 votes. One of the reasons why the numbers are shaky is because redistricting happened. And when the redistricting happened, a lot of us aren't even aware. We didn't even know about this political process, but some people have new representation and don't even know it because redistricting happened. And when that happens, what that means is if you happen to be on the tail end of one county that has a certain set of needs, right? And then you get scooped into a different county that has a different set of needs. That means that you being that small little portion are no longer being catered to, right? That's what can happen in redistricting. The legislation has the right to do redistricting, and so we want to be a part of that process. We want to make sure that our communities are not being pushed to the side.
Okay. When did the redistricting happen?
It actually happened fairly recently. So for those of you who don't know, the reason why our primary is in July and not in May, like in most other states, is because this was being battled in the Maryland courts. Mm-hmm. That was finalized, I want to say 3 weeks ago, three or 4 weeks ago. It was the burden of those who said that the redistricting lines weren't good for whatever reasons to prove that, and they weren't able to meet that burden of proof. And so the court said the legislature has the right to do redistricting. It's within their purview. And so the new maps are the way that they are. You can actually just Google Maryland elections, and you can find what those maps look like. You can find all of the seats that are available. You can actually find what your ballot is going to look like and start thinking about it now.
Yeah, and I think that's always good, you know, like there's websites like the League for Women Voters and that give very good, you know, like impressions of the people you're going to be voting for. And this redistricting happened not only, you know, like within the Senate districts, it happened, you know, like even in congressional districts. Yes. You may be in a different congressional district and you don't even know. Yes. And the funny thing is that people find out on election day.
Yes.
You know, like when they go and they're like, who are these people? I don't know them. I thought I was voting for Congressman X, but I'm seeing guys that I don't know here. And that's the reason why, like, I find it so interesting whenever you go to an American polling station, there's so many people, you know, like with signs, you know, like, and they're trying to talk to you. That's illegal in Kenya. That's not allowed in Kenya. So,
Yeah.
so I find it so interesting when these people are so nice to you. They're giving to you. They're even telling you exactly, especially they're those, you know, like candidates where you're voting for more than one person, like judges. They're even arranging for you. Just vote for these 3 out of these 5. Wachana now or really, you know. So I find that, you know, like a very interesting dynamic, and it's important to participate. Candidate Thomas MWAURA.
Yes, sir.
What's your parting shot? What do you have to say to people who are listening, you know, like who are on the fence? Maybe they're not interested in this primary process. They're like, I'm going to wait in November. That's when I'm going to vote. What do you have to say to them?
Please do not wait until November, because this election in District 8, as Annette said, is going to be decided July 19. The person that wins July 19
Wins
Right.
in November.
wins in November.
Okay.
So if you participate in this particular election on July 19 and we take it, we're taking it all the way through. You know, so don't sit back. And if you cannot vote for some reason, maybe your location, stuff like that, just like Annette said, you can also help us pass the word. You can help us print more flyers. You can help us knock doors or kind of thing by a monetary donation, or even coming there and knocking doors with us. I have a friend who's coming from Pennsylvania to knock doors with me. I'm excited. You know, he believes in this campaign so much. He's like, when are you guys canvassing? I'm going to be there. Do something like that.
Okay, that's interesting. I'd also like to knock doors, but I'm scared. Maybe I'm gonna be behind the net.
You
When
can
knock
be-
the door.
Annette is good at
Yeah,
this.
let's partner
You know, I'm the
together.
guy behind. I'm the guy carrying, you know, like the material and the bag.
She will receive
Yeah.
In
the
the car.
baseball bat for you. She's good at this.
Yeah, because if something happens and we need to scatter, you know, like I'm out of there first. Yeah, I'm out of there first. But
It's not that scary. Honestly, it's really fun. We happen to live in a very friendly district, so they will smile at you and not vote for you. They will smile at you and vote for you. But at the end of the day, they're gonna smile at you.
okay, all right. They're gonna smile at you. Now, with that said, I want to say this is it for the News and Politics Hour. I want to thank candidate Thomas MWAURA for joining us tonight at the People's Kamkunji.
Where is MWAURA?
Yes, and
Where is
and
MWAURA?
also we want to thank Annette, you know, for, you know, like giving us, you know, like the details, the extra details that we need to know about the campaign and the stakes that we have. I'd never thought about it that July 19th is actually decides the election.
It's that crucial.
Yeah, it's that crucial because Maryland is mostly a Democratic state, and whoever wins the Democratic primary will most likely win the elections in November. But we want all the listeners to stay tuned for more coming up. Uno, please remind the viewers what we shall be discussing in the social segment.
Azimio, Sauti Sol, intellectual property. No wonder Muzi did not want to participate in this conversation.
Yes.
Yes. And Algopa,
He's just watching from a distance.
from a distance.
Yeah.
You don't want to spoil Baba's name.
Because he has vested interests
Like
in
an
both
answer.
sides.
Yes. Maybe
Yeah.
as a cabinet position.
All right. So we want people to keep it locked and stay tuned. And please remember to share our live stream and like our Facebook page. To those streaming on YouTube, this is the point where we say goodbye, but you can come join us back on our Facebook live stream. Now, please remember to subscribe and follow us on all our social media handles and keep spreading the word. Mimi ni mtangazaji wenu Ali Badawy, aka Mjukuu wa Masai, and you're still tuned in to the OneMic Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mabibi na Mabona, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that the People's Kamkunji is in full effect. DJ Machachari Buda Boss, twende kazi.
You know she fine. You can't see her from a mile. Blue Sky Production. Well, everybody says she nice. Say them love the way she move her waistline. Atty, girl,